Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome to After Hour Screen Talk. I'm Jesse. Today I wanted to talk about the upcoming live action Akira adaptation, which has been in development for a few decades now. Beginning development, I believe, back in 2002. It's gone through a number of changes and production delays until around 2017. Director Taika Waititi took over the project with the intention to adapt the original 80s manga instead of remaking that classic anime movie from 1988. During a recent interview, producer Andrew Lazar said that we can expect to have a pretty big update within the next few months here. Now, as far as Taika Waititi is concerned, maybe he's not my first choice as a director for an Akira movie. Leans a little too much into the comedy at times, and also some of his jokes are just too juvenile for my taste. But he does seem to really appreciate the source material and want to honor it. He has stated that he wants to focus on casting Asian American teenagers in the lead roles. That's another smart choice as well. Particularly in the Akira manga, a lot of the storytelling is deeply rooted in, the Japanese post-war cultural experience. That's kind of just part of Akira's DNA. If you're going to do an actual adaptation of the manga, then you need to bring that kind of historical cultural perspective to it. So casting Asian teenagers is a smart choice. That's why I kind of in this video wanted to do my own kind of like fan casting for a hypothetical, Akira live action Akira movie, and just thought it would be fun to just give my kind of picks about who would be good for these lead roles. Also dip into the manga a bit, cast roles and characters that we didn't get in the original 1988 anime movie. If you're not familiar with Akira's plot or characters, I will be dipping into some spoilers here, so that's your warning. So with that said, let's get into this, talk a little bit about this live action Akira movie in the works, and give you my fan casting for a potential Akira movie here. If you're not familiar with either the anime movie or the manga, a little bit about Akira is that it was written by Katshurio Oromo. The basic premise is set in a post-apocalyptic city, Neo-Tokyo. This futuristic, decaying city, built on the ashes of a previous catastrophe. The central characters focus on the rebellious youth of Neo-Tokyo, especially Kaneda and Tetsuo. Their friendship is tested as Tetsuo's psychic abilities awaken and he becomes entangled in dangerous conspiracies. The story centers around the origins and nature of Akira, a destructive force that appears to be responsible for the original Tokyo explosion. The storytelling in both the anime and the manga just really hook you and draw you into this vibrant underworld of motorcycle gangs and dangerous conspiracies that just reflect this post-apocalyptic chaotic atmosphere of Neo-Tokyo. With that said, let's get right into my fan casting for the live-action Akira movie, starting with Kaneda. Kaneda is a charismatic biker gang leader in Neo-Tokyo. He's very hot-headed, yet loyal. He's a teenager, he's a wisecracker, very juvenile and immature. As far as who should play Kaneda, I would choose Ryunosuke Kamiki. We already know him from Godzilla Minus One, which gives him some global crossover appeal here. Also, he was great in the Rurouni Kenshin live-action movies and quite different there and showed his tonal range. He can be quite intense and has a lot of energy and brings that swagger that I think could really carry the part of Kaneda. The next major role here is, of course, Tetsuo, Kaneda's insecure friend who develops these powerful, unstable psychic abilities. For this part, I would cast Makenu Arata, who was also in the live-action Rurouni Kenshin movies, where he also played a very volatile, arrogant character, which is why I think he could really embody Tetsuo's inferiority complex and his volatile transformation here. Moving on to the next major character, Kei, who is a young resistance fighter who develops psychic abilities herself. I think a great choice for this role would be Anna Sawai. She's a good actress and has already established herself in a number of Hollywood IP from Godzilla. She was in that Monarch series, and then most recently was in Shogun, where she really made a stamp there with her performance. She's a solid action performer, has emotional depth and range. She also has this quiet strength about her that would be very fitting for the Kei character, and I think she could really convey Kei's dual role as a rebel and eventual psychic medium. Next, we have Ryu, Kei's mentor in the Resistance, who has a larger, more significant role in the manga. So this is an opportunity to really flesh out that character. I think John Cho would be great as this character, just because I think he could really anchor the whole Resistance plot emotionally and bring some real gravitas to it, but also some dry humor and wit as well. All right, let's move on to the child psychic characters of the story who are part of this secret military project to weaponize their psychic abilities. These child characters, first of all, are prematurely aged due to the experiments performed on them, which have triggered their aging process and accelerated it. And I think to convey that on screen, I would definitely cast child actors in the roles, but use a combination of prosthetics work and digital de-aging effects to convey that sense of rapid aging. For the character of Kiyoko, I would cast Sora Wong, who had her feature film debut in Bring Her Back, and she gave a phenomenal performance, and I think she would really be great as Kiyoko. I'd definitely cast her. For the character of Masaru, I would cast Robert Timothy Smith, who we saw in Star Wars The Skeleton Crew, and of course we didn't really see his face on that show, but if you see this actor in person, he definitely has the right look for that character, and I think he could bring the emotional range and depth to really give a convincing performance as Masaru. I think he'd be great too. For the role of Takashi, I would choose Jono Rand Phillips, who was also in Bring Her Back and was equally terrific in that movie and just has this fey quality that would be perfect for the character of Takashi. Even though he's not Japanese or Asian, I think you could definitely write the story and script to serve different casting choices. So if you wanted to go for a non-Asian actor like Jonah Ren Phillips, maybe these child psychic characters were sourced by the military or the government from different countries, something like that. So you could make it work like that. But I definitely think Jonah Ren Phillips would be great as that character. All right, now we get to casting the actual character of Akira. Just to be honest, I almost decided not to cast this part just because Akira is such a hard character to pin down. And in both the anime and manga, Akira functions more as this symbolic figure and presence than an actual character and personality. But if you're going to adapt the manga, you gotta have Akira in it and cast the part. So here's my best try at it, and I decided to cast Alan Kim as Akira. Alan Kim is most known for his performance in Minari. His role in Minari as this child struggling to fit in also shows his capacity to embody a sense of being an outsider. So I think he's equipped to handle the depth of a character like Akira. He's young, relatable. He's also 13 years old, making him age appropriate for a young Akira. Now, moving on to Kaneda's biker gang friends, we have the character of Yamagata, and I think the actor Andrew Koji would be really good as Yamagata. He was, of course, in the series Warrior. He's a good action performer, and he has that emotional range, and I think he could really sell it as Yamagata. For the character of Kaisuke, I would choose actor Dallas Liu, who was in Netflix's The Last Airbender. He played Zuko. Kaisuke has a much larger role in the manga. He has layers and depth. On the surface, he's a wisecracking, irreverent, biker, revolutionary kind of character like Kaneda, but he has some depth to him as well. And I think an actor like Dallas Liu would be able to capture that character's multiple layers here and make him memorable. All right, let's move on to the military and government figures. And of course, the most important one for us fans out there is probably Colonel Shikishima, who is the stoic leader trying to contain all the chaos in Neo Tokyo. And I was torn when casting this character here. I think for me, the obvious choice that comes to mind is Ken Watanabe. I think he'd be perfect. I mean, he's almost like a no-brainer and would bring that intensity, authority, and also subtle emotion to that role. But then again, I think another great choice would be Benedict Wong as well. I think he could really sell it as that character. After that, we have Dr. Onishi, the government scientist studying Akira. I think a great choice for this role would be Hiroyuki Sanada. I mean, Dr. Onishi is a very morally gray character in both the anime and manga, and I think an actor of the caliber of Sanada could really capture that moral ambiguity and really convincingly portray that. Then we get to the character of Nezu, and oh man, this character is a juicy role, a potentially really juicy role. He's this corrupt government official with ties to the resistance movement. If I could have my top choice to play this character, it would definitely be Takeshi Kitano. He's another no-brainer for me for this character because he is so good at playing sleazy, corrupt, shifty characters and giving a kind of like quiet, nuanced performance. And so I think he'd be a really great choice for the Nezu character. The next major character here is Lady Miyako, who is a former psychic turned cult leader, and she has a much bigger role in the manga and a very different role in the original manga than she does in the anime movie. For this character, I would cast Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh can really bring the emotional range and gravitas, but I think she can also really bring that sense of mysticism too, which would be perfect for the Miyako character. All right, shifting away from the more ideological military figures, we have the character of Kaori, who is Tetsuo's tragic girlfriend. Kaori has a very minor role in the anime movie, but of course a much larger role in the comic, the manga. For this role, I would cast Mia Goth. Now, even though she's not an Asian or Japanese actress, she would bring some crossover appeal, and she has a lot of range, and I think she would be great as Kaori and be a nice complement and counterpart to Tetsuo. Alright, so now I want to look a little bit at characters from the original manga left out of the anime movie. The first on the list for me here is the character of Chiyoko, who is a resistance fighter and friend to Kei, and kind of like a big sister, kind of maternal figure for her, and she's this tank of a woman and always carrying a big gun. I mean, she's a real badass. Not included, unfortunately, in the 1988 movie. And, you know, this is an opportunity to do justice in a movie format for this character. For this role, I would cast Carrie-Anne Moss. She's a great action performer, of course, could really carry the part emotionally, and I think she would be great. Now I want to get to Tetsuo's followers, who, again, are featured more prominently in the manga than in the anime. And first of all, we have the character, a nameless character, who is this unnamed aide of Tetsuo. For this character, I would cast Steven Yeun. Tetsuo's unnamed aide is conniving, menacing, he's treacherous, and Steven Yeun has proved himself in those kinds of roles before, and so I think he could really bring it as this character as well. Also in the manga, we have some Western supporting character roles here. World Council representatives, you know, they're very minor characters, but symbolic figures, so you could cast some Western actors in those roles. I think like actors like J.K. Simmons and Forrest Whitaker would be really good as American military advisors. Then you could have like Cillian Murphy playing a UN spokesperson. These actors and characters would just really be there to reflect the global consequences unfolding in the story without interfering with the Japanese and Asian core cast. All right, so that's my fan casting for the live action Akira movie in development. Please share your comments below and let me know too if you have any fan casting choices yourselves. we really love the engagement we're seeing on the channel, and it's just kind of fun to engage and talk movies, right? That's why we do this. So look forward to more reviews, content coming your way soon, and we'll see you next time here.